Robyn, Dallas, Texas, WBAP. Go.
Hi, I was just going to let you know that I called Speaker Boehner's office today about the $105 billion in Obamacare.
Yeah.
And was immediately told that, oh, yes, he's against that. He's against that bill. And I said, I understand he's against the bill. Yes, we repealed it and we've defunded it. And I said, yes, you voted to repeal it. That's not going to do anything. So our next choice was to defund it. I'm specifically asking about the $105 billion that they put in the bill that's already funded. They've already appropriated that money outside of the normal appropriations process. Well, we passed two bills to defund it. I said, I'm not stupid. I'm asking you about specifically.
So Robyn, they're lying to you.
Well, I was asking if he had put out a statement, if he had made any comments about it. That's what he was told, what he told me. So, I said, I'm not stupid. That doesn't mean anything when you say he's against it. We voted to repeal it. We voted to defund it. I'm specifically asking.
All right, Robyn, hold on. Don't hang it. We have some breaking news here. The Wisconsin State Senate just passed. I'm watching Fox. According to Fox, they just passed in the Wisconsin State Senate the governor's union collective bargaining reform bill. So my understanding is it'll now go to the governor. I hope I'm right about this. It is breaking news, so during the break we'll take a closer look at that. But that's what we hear. That's what we see. These different news outlets reporting that the Wisconsin State Senate has in fact voted to adopt the reform changes requested by the governor, which had been voted on previously, as I recall, by the state legislature. So my guess is it goes to the governor now. Go ahead, Robyn.
So anyway, I said I'm specifically asking about the $105 billion.
What's the bottom line?
Appropriated.
What did they say?
And he just kept saying the same thing. And I said, I'm not stupid. If leadership is not going to address this issue, and especially.
All right, let me add to this some additional information. Are you prepared for this?
Huh?
Are you prepared for additional information that may be frustrating to you and millions of others out here?
I don't know, but he got really.
Okay, I got the point. We got the point. We got the point that they're misleading you, and they're getting frustrated because you're not taking the bait. But we have to move on now, and I wanted to make a point, Robyn. It's worse than this. Boehner is putting the arm on all the freshmen to vote for another 2-week continuing resolution, a few billion more in cuts. Everybody thinks this is a brilliant idea. It is a terrible idea. We've got to make the case for our position. We've got to start to do it, and apparently Boehner wants to keep putting it off. I don't know what he's thinking. I mean, this is going to have to end at some point. But if you just elected a new member of Congress, a Tea Party member, or any member, if you just elected a new member of Congress, I would suggest you call that House member immediately. And if they're not in now because it's too late, leave a message, be polite. If the voicemail is filled up, call tomorrow. And by all means, let them know that you don't want any more votes on these continuing resolutions that continue to fund Obamacare. We know what all the lies are, all the excuses are. Now, we sent a huge number of new people to the House of Representatives. You did. And they have got to take on these old bulls. There shouldn't be any more extensions with these 2-week continuing resolutions. There shouldn't be any more funding of Obamacare. I was thinking about this during the break. If the government shuts down for 2, 3, 4 weeks, guess what? Obamacare won't be funded for 2, 3, 4 weeks. Some idiot over at the From Report or whatever it's called, because I get these emails. I guarantee you, I don't go to that site. I can't stand that guy. He's useless. His advice is stupid. We'd be forever a minority if that fool had his way. Mark wants the government to shut down. I want the Constitution reestablished. I want some sanity brought to our fiscal policies. I want us to save our nation for future generations. Whatever it takes. The government shuts down because the other side won't cut spending. The government shuts down because the other side bloated the federal budget for 2 years and now is joking around about a couple billion here and there. So it's not what I want. It's not how I want it. It's reality. It's what we're faced with. It's the soft tyranny that we exist in. That's the problem. So you got to deal with it. You can't pretend it doesn't exist. You can't wish it away. You can't play games with it. You can't negotiate with it. You have to stop it in its tracks at some point. That's the problem. This isn't an extremist view. This isn't a radical view or a right-wing view. This is common sense. This can't continue. How many more truly independent civil servants need to issue reports and make statements saying this is unsustainable until the fools on our side and the buffoons on the other side get the message that it's unsustainable? The chief actuary tells us Medicare is unsustainable. We know Social Security is unsustainable. This kind of deficit spending is unsustainable. What's the problem? Do they not understand what the word unsustainable means? It means it's going to collapse. Now, some of us want to do something about it other than play footsie, other than play games, PR games with the American people and the base. So you should contact your member of Congress, particularly if they're newly elected, and tell them you're on to this game. Vote no on a 2-week continuing resolution. Insist that the House at least take a stand on this funding of Obamacare and fight it. We're not stupid. We know exactly what's going on. Our country is at stake. You should really be fired up at this point. Absolutely disgusted. Once you have found out, once you learned, as I did, that there's $105 billion that was stashed away in an authorizing bill that's not supposed to be used as an appropriations bill. They did that, so no matter how the election turned out, Obamacare would be funded. That should drive you nuts. And what should further drive you nuts is if we have Republican members of Congress closing their eyes to this and voting for another 2-week extension. Well, we're going to give the leadership a little room. We're going to let the leadership negotiate. Excuse me. This new Congress has been in office since the first week in January. They've had 2 months. 2 months. Yes, I know it's tough. I know it's hard. I know it takes courage. But cowardice under these circumstances is a disaster. You look at our history. Look at our history. You want to know courage? Courage is dealing with the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Courage is dealing with a war that is tearing the nation apart, a civil war. Courage is standing up against slavery and segregation and having your brains beaten in by crossing a bridge in a peaceful march. That's courage. Courage is a young man or a young woman who's sent off to war. Courage is a cop who taps on somebody's window when he thinks that driver may have a weapon. Courage is going into a burning building, trying to put out a fire and look for survivors. Now that's courage. All of that is courage. Doing what's right over the budget, over deficit spending. It takes courage, but not the courage of a soldier, not the courage of a police officer, not the courage of a firefighter, not the courage of a president who has to deal with Nazism, not the courage of a president who has to face down slavery and segregation, a president who has to keep the nation together. The question is, do we have people in Washington who can rise to the occasion, who don't even have to have as much courage as those who came before? Are there enough Republicans in the House of Representatives who have the courage to say no to Mr. Boehner and Mr. Cantor and Mr. McCarthy, and in saying no to them, saying no to Obama and the left? Do the men and women we sent to Washington, D.C. to represent us from all over the country, to stop this lunacy in its tracks, to begin to reverse course, do they have the commitment to the principles they told us they had when we voted for them and sent them to Washington, D.C.? Do they? We're about to find out. We're about to find out. Let me tell you something. The response by Obama and the Democrats with this $4.7 billion cut, quote unquote, that is a complete slap in the face to the American people. A slap in the face to the American people. That's why the House should not extend the spending by another continuing resolution. That's why they should vote against raising the debt ceiling. They are dealing with ideologues who are dug in. And if they want to save the nation from default or from what the government itself says is unsustainable practices, then now's the time. Not tomorrow, not the next day, not the next Congress, not the next year, not the next budget. Now, what will these freshmen do? Will they stand with us or will they stand with Mr. Boehner? Will they stand with us or will they stand with Mr. Cantor? Will they stand with us or will they stand with Mr. McCarthy? Yes, unfortunately, that's what it's come down to. We'll be monitoring their votes. You monitor your own member of Congress and see how they vote. and whether they deserve to be reelected, be more than a one-termer. The rubber hits the road right now. There is no tomorrow. Right now. The left is persisting. The left never stops. What are we waiting for? Why are we always looking over our shoulder? I don't know the Wisconsin legislature rules, so that vote in the Senate, maybe it goes to a conference committee, then it's voted out, or if it goes straight to the governor's desk because there may have been no changes. But the significant fact, the significant news right now is that the Senate in Wisconsin has in fact passed Governor Walker's reform bill, minus the financial aspects of it. It broke it out. So one way or another, it's heading to the governor's desk. In the U.S. Senate, I don't know where we go from here. The Democrat plan with its $4.7 billion in spending cuts, what a massive cut, that failed. The Republican plan, which was the House bill of $61 billion, that failed. So what, they're going to meet in the middle? Wow. On the House side, Boehner is lining up his troops, including the freshmen, putting the arm on them, to vote for another 2-week continuing resolution, which would continue to fund Obamacare. You see, the progress mostly is being made in the states, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we can see much of our leadership now. Very little leadership in Washington, D.C. You have some governors who are absolutely outstanding. You have former politicians, even some who served in Washington, some who served in the state houses, who are speaking out like leaders. We have leaders in Washington, but only a handful, the Jim DeMints and Rand Pauls, Mike Lees and so forth, and on the House side, Michelle Bachmann's and Steve King's and Louis Gohmert's, and there's others, many others, but not enough. I was always concerned about this Republican leadership. We'll see. Maybe if the Democrats push them against the wall hard enough, where they have no choice, maybe they'll embrace a few of our principles. We'll be right back. Paula in San Jose. San Jose is wide awake today. The great KSFO. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Hey, I just wanted to say, Mark, that we love you so much. My kids and I pray for you every night. And I just wanted to give kudos to Scott Walker because he is just an outstanding person. I mean, we've been praying for him, too. And with all due respect to Charles Krauthammer, I mean, I don't want these people picking our nominee again. And I think Scott Walker would make a great one, maybe Alan West, whoever. But just wanted to give a kudos to Scott Walker because I'm just really proud of him for standing up.
Well, first of all, you're very kind. And secondly, I want to second what you just said. We're looking for leaders right now. They don't have to have long political careers. Alan West is a leader. I'm going to get him on this program, but he's all over right now. I want to let him have a breather, but we strongly supported him during his election. There are other great leaders out there. I like Herman Cain a whole lot, and yet they're dismissed. It's as if they don't exist. I wish Rubio would reconsider and consider jumping in. You don't need a lot of experience at deficit spending in order to be qualified to run for the highest office in the land. It is amazing to me that a guy like Obama with a paper-thin record, zero accomplishments, really, to speak of, is historic. He's qualified. Nobody questions. But any time we look at somebody, you know, Newt Gingrich does have issues with his personal past, and the man is extremely intelligent, but he has his issues. But look at the way they're chewing him up over his past relationships and so forth. I get that, but we don't even know about the Democrats if they had past relationships. Has anybody asked Obama about his past drug use? You see the hypocrisy, Paula?
Yeah, no one seems to care about that. You know, our side gets torn up. But you know what? That brings me to another point. I mean, you made a good point. You know, Rush has said for years that we cannot negotiate with evil. And we have to stop looking at, conservatives have to stop looking at, you know, the other side and cowering regarding, you know, what they're going to say about us.
Well, Paula, my view has been, from the day I've been on radio, victory. Victory. We need to win. But you don't negotiate with a Marxist policy. We have to win. Thank you, Paula. God bless you, my friend. You're very kind. We'll be right back.